Hey everybody, so here it is. I'm entering March of Robots so I can learn how to do better looking robots, hopefully. The format's going to be very simple. It's just one time a week I'll upload a video with the work so far, comment on the individual illustrations if possible, and you know, the usual just reporting. So first day was March, and I opted by depicting a robot marching, a military robot marching or something, in a very military stance. I think the legs turned out really small, and I chose to go with it only to be sort of regretting it when I got to the end, but it is what it is. It's done. I'm using the gray book from Hanemühle, which is a very interesting gray paper sketchbook that I bought right after Inktober to use with the white and black pens, and I even done a few experiments in I think it was a pencil, but the paper's a little bit too waxy, so it doesn't really take nicely to these pencils. You see me use a lot of white pens here, but I'm going to rely on three of them. That is the Jelly Roll from Sakura, the Amsterdam Acrylics marker, and the Poshka fine liner or fine marker acrylic paint. Second day was things, and all I could remember was some robot investigating some things, basically. Very reminiscent of Wall-E, which is one of my favorite films ever. And I tried to depict as if he was somewhat curious about what he's touching, or, trying to understand what is there. I also tried to go a little bit crazy with the shapes. I wanted to do a different style robot. I also been using this challenge to try and be very fast. So Inktober for me was deliberate, all of those drawings. I had the intention of being very deliberate and think about things deeply and get into this mode of making the best illustrations I could, but doing them in a very deliberate fashion. But on this one, I chose not to do so. I chose to basically try and be as loose as I can, because that's something I really need to practice. I'm not a very loose artist per se. Sometimes I really struggle, but I wanted to do it differently here. I am enjoying that experience, but it's very tempting to sit and render something for a long time, not leave it alone, not go for the simple. Is really, really, trying to be simple and effective is really an art form in of itself. So that's something I'm going to try and push myself to learn with this challenge. As for the lighting decisions, I'm basically trying to focus on a single light source with a little bit of secondary illumination or reflective light that comes from the environment, sometimes more successfully than others. But like the rest, I'm trying to be loose and trying to, play along and see how it turns out. So if it doesn't turn out that well, I'm actually going a little bit outside of my comfort zone here. Another few pens that I've been using is the zebra brush pens, and I really am becoming a fan of these brush pens. They weren't very cheap. I mean, I've heard that these are very cheap pens or markers in Japan. They're used for labeling or something. That might be so, but I wasn't able to get them that cheap on eBay. At any rate, it really is beautiful the way they stroke. I mean, they come. I bought a package of 4. Comes with a gray one and 3 different line widths or line thicknesses, and they're all basically polyester. I think polyester brush tips. So they're not, they don't have individual hairs. They're somewhat rigid. I think the Pigma brush from Sakura is somewhat similar, although less resilient. These pens can take a lot of punishment, and that's part of what I'm enjoying about them. You can actually be free and push and get really beautiful line weights quite easily, actually. So about this drawing, you see me just going a little bit overboard here. So I was already trying to go the, take longer time and spend too much time on each drawing. And yeah, sure, I'm sure it's somewhat cool, and it's looks way better, more perfect. But the truth is, this is not what I was aiming for, and I took a little bit more time than what I wished. So I'm trying to limit my illustrations to about 1 hour, maybe 1 hour and a half, at the very, very most 2 hours. So this illustration was a bit longer than that, and it's not that I don't like it. I like it, but this is not what I'm trying to use March of Robots for. This one here was fun, I think. Yes, it was fun, and I could only think of like a robot dog chasing a toy, a ball, a dog ball kind of toy that would be independent, and so you wouldn't just throw it. She would try and escape him. And I looked online for a few references for dogs, and especially for the anatomy. And the image that I used looked really nice on the photo, but once I finished the drawing, I was like, maybe I should have chosen a better reference. Not totally unhappy. It came out way looser than I expected. I really liked the option of the dog with one eye, digital eye, same as the ball. They're checking each other out, but I think I made a few mistakes here that I wish I hadn't. Overall, I do like it though. This one was one of the same kind of problem that I entered with the jump prompt. This was right. I had really no huge ideas, but it came to mind, like someone riding a robot to work. In this case, in the depths of the ocean, trying to do some salvaging or something, and the idea I had in my mind was kind of the robots of the 40s, or the ideas that, back then people had of science fiction. And roughly that was my starting point. So, because I knew I had a very complicated subject, I tried to not waste too much time on rendering, and actually really liked the way it turned out. It turned out somewhat of the comics of that era, style a little bit, not completely, but sort of. And I really enjoyed doing it. Although I did take a little bit longer than I expected. It's okay. This was not bad. I especially liked the lighting that I ended up by using, and the little detail of the bubbles and that structure on the back that really, I think, make the piece kind of work. And this so far is the piece that I think I've made that looks like a proper piece, so to speak, not just a robot, like an illustration actually. So really enjoyed working on this one as well. This was the prompt idea, and I couldn't think of much more than, a brain in a vat kind of thing. And then I went the old school, retro kind of old school sci-fi, cartoonish style robot, a little bit of Futurama here as well. But I gotta say, I really loved this one. I mean, it was a lot of fun to work on, and it was very loose, and I just didn't really had to think too much, on it. That felt good actually. That was cool to just go with the flow and just have fun. I'm enjoying more and more these Copics, and this was actually interesting. And of course, when I was idealizing this, I just had this idea of like, why not build like a robot that walks around with your brain after you're dead. Just, I know it sounds stupid, but it was the idea that originated this drawing. So yeah, I called it the Brayon or something, on my description on Instagram. But it's fun. Working on these more loose character based little robots, quite interesting. I think I feel tempted to do more of these. So that's it, guys. I'll see you next week. I'll upload a new one with the other drawings from this time on, and I'll see you then.